Hey guys, sorry, gotta cut the air down. It is hot, but I'm trying to put out the best product that I can under, with whatever. Sorry, I didn't do not disturb. Just 1 second. That's my daughter. Gotta send her some hearts. I'm almost about to go to work. I want to talk to them, send them my well wishes before work. I always tell. Oh, I didn't push do not disturb. Always tell them to here we go, have a good day, pray for them, I love them and all of that, my granddaughter and my daughter. Okay, so anyways, yes, this is part 2. Go ahead and look. I'm working on my locks, I'm just retwisting them, girl. Well, the top of it, I got to, that's a whole nother story. Gosh, why do I do this? Why do I do this? Okay, quickly, I'll just elaborate in a different story. But I realized that pride, I seen an area in my life where I was prideful and did not realize that that was pride. What I'm speaking of is I am a licensed cosmetologist. I have not let anybody do my hair. Like it's rare that I will let anybody in my head. My hair could be all matted on top of his head. All my locks could be plaited into one big old wick or whatever, and I still will not let nobody touch my hair because it's the pride that I am a licensed cosmetologist and I know how to do my own hair, and I can do my hair better than anybody else can do my hair. I know what I want. I know what, okay. But I also have carpal tunnel. The reason why I'm not practicing cosmetology. So my sister comes to me, my sister that I caregive for, and she's like, you want me to do your hair? How do you twist your hair? She just kept hinting around to it. She wouldn't come out and say she wanted to do my hair, but she kept hinting around to it. And I kept batting it down. I'm like, oh, I don't really like people doing my hair. In my mind, I'm like, I don't like other people doing my hair. What if she's not going to do it the way I want it done and this and this and that. And so I got it to push off a couple days, and then we were sitting down one day watching my cousin Vinny. I love that movie about a wrongful conviction. And she was like, okay, so we just sitting here, you want me to go ahead and do your hair? And at first I was like, no, I don't want anybody to do my hair. And I made up an excuse, and I was like, something was like, no, just let her do your hair. Like literally, I struggled with one row in my head for 2 hours, 2.5 hours last week, or the earlier part of this week. And I was like, if it took me 2.5 hours to barely do one row, just let her do your hair. So I talked her through how to do it. Um, and I checked it like as she was doing it to see if she was doing it right. The first couple times she wasn't quite doing it right, but she got it, and she did my hair, and now my hair looks decent. It's not all over itself. I'm still fixing the. Now I did braid this top because I do my braids. Girl, that's still probably some of that pride, but I let her do my hair. That's a plus up for me. Okay, so anyways, part 2 of the video, I want to tell a story time. This story time is crazy. So I was talking about the second biggest narcissist in my life. These stories I have always had to keep to myself. Could not put on my other channel because they watch my other channel, and they would probably bring, like, all you have to do is report channels and they could get you taken down or something like that. So I know they will sabotage me, especially knowing that I am speaking about them. So this channel here is just my passion. It is me being able to get all these stories out and finally out in the open. I always wanted to plead my side of the case, my side of the story, and was always silenced, couldn't say anything. If I say anything, I'm sorry, I had to turn that up higher because I'm hot. God, I really don't want y'all to hear all this noise. But I would always have to just be quiet, zip it up, be the bigger person. If you bring anything up, you're not letting things go and stuff like that. Lee Hammock, self-aware narcissist, says that, and it's true. So this story is crazy. We were out to eat. I think it was, what is that place called? Applebee's. I think we were at Applebee's. We were either at Applebee's or TGI Fridays, but I think it was Applebee's because I didn't really like Applebee's. But it was like every time my family would love to go out to eat. That's one of the one things we can do. Everybody is going through different issues. My cousin that I'm speaking of, he went through kidney failure and losing his eyesight at the same time. My sister's epileptic. It's a lot of, and she has grand mal seizures, had grand mal seizures, and is not a lot that you can do with her that is not going to lead her into seizing, or that's not going to be detrimental if she goes into seizing. That, that activities we can do together that would still be safe for her to do. um at that time, it was my aunt around a lot. She barely can walk, she's in a walker. My narcissistic aunt, and myself, I got my own issues, legally blind, sciatica, carpal tunnel in my back, everything just a mess, going to bed. So it's not a lot of family activities. So we would like to go out to eat a lot, even though that's not the best thing financially and even health wise. But I mean, it was just, that was the thing we did. I don't know. So that time we were going to Applebee's. I didn't really like Applebee's. Last time I went there, only time that they were good was this time when they had this unlimited appetizers that they just keep bringing you out appetizers. Other than that, I don't think I never liked Applebee's. But for some reason we went there. Most likely it was because he wanted to go there. My cousin wanted to go there. And so we're sitting at the table and we get the menus. I don't know if we had already ate or we why does it feel like my heat? Girl, give me one. I don't want to stop this video because it's already been 2 days, but it feels so hot in here. And I'm not Nelly, so I ain't gonna take off all my clothes. Hold on. Okay. Sometimes when I stop the video like that, it doesn't come back with sound. So, Lord, please let there be sound in there. Let there be sound. And there was sound. Uh, okay, so anyways, if not, I guess I have to re-record this video, which is okay. I'm okay with starting over. I done started over so many times in my life. But so I don't know if we had finished eating or we were about to eat or what had happened. I really think we were almost done because after the argument broke out, it was like we were just ready to go. We were ready to go. Okay, so this is the silliest reason, but this is why an argument started. And for me, an argument, they will always say, you two are too old to be arguing. An argument needs two people. It can't be an argument like this or an argument like this. It needs both. Argument. This is an argument. And my mother used to all the time tell me whenever I would run to my mom to call a thing or to provide justice in a situation against somebody, like my sisters or whatever, my mother would always say, it takes a fool to argue with a fool. So she never would set the record straight, like say, no, what's going on? Hey, that is kind of shady what you did. You are wrong, and call it. Call it. I have a video like that. Just call it. We don't call situations because we don't want to hurt people's feelings. So this is why this toxic behavior continues on, because we just don't want to hurt their feelings. But yet we allow them to hurt the other person that we love, right? That's what we actually do. We provide a leeway for them to hurt the second person that we love. We think by not calling it how it is, we're just going to hurt that person's feeling. So we feel like we're not hurting anybody by just stepping back and saying both of y'all, or just saying y'all just need to stop, and like that. You're actually doing a disservice to both parties. You're gaslighting one party, and the other party, you're enabling them to keep on with the toxic behavior. So you're not really being a problem solver at all, really. But you think you are. You think you're keeping the peace. But it's never keeping the peace. I also have another video where I say you're just burying it, and it's not dead. You're burying it alive. Anything buried alive is going to rise again. It's going to come back up. It's going to come back up because we were never able to hash it out. Okay, so somehow we got onto the subject of big bone. Now, I myself know that I am big bone. I have a large stature, large, broad shoulders. I have thick wrists. I don't have a little dainty wrist. I have thick wrists. I have thick ankles. I myself am thick. I have a, what do you call that? Like an athletic body build. But over time, I have gotten bigger and I have fat and stuff like that. I still have that large stature, but I have fat over it. Now, before I get into this discussion, have you ever seen, I've even noticed this with a friend. This friend looked way bigger than I was. She had big, huge, tatas. Her body was, she looked really big. Not, gosh, that's not how I mean it. That is not how I mean it. But she looked bigger than me. She looked to be bigger than me. But in all actuality, I weighed more than her, which was crazy. So I actually was bigger than her, though she looked to be bigger than me. And it's because I have the big, broad stature. My mother had a big, broad stature. That's just our stature. I've seen women that are smaller. They have these little tiny old wrists, but they're fat, meaning their body frame is meant for a small, it's not meant for all that fat on it. It's too much fat on the frame. My frame is larger, and though it has fat on the frame, I have a big body build. Let me know if you've ever seen that a big bone person, which is referring to those people, just like Sierra. Sierra looks very big bone to me. Even though she is skinny, she has that broad, her shoulders go straight out. I'm an artist, y'all. I pay attention to everything. Her art, my sister's shoulders used to slump down. Many females, the more feminine look is when your shoulders slide. They kind of slant down. You have the little small shoulders, small hands. My hands are big as I don't know what. I have huge hands. My hands is just as big as my husband's hands. Like, where they do that at? Like, I have big, huge hands. And my husband says, well, that's because you have artist hands. I have huge calves. And the calves are really not even fat. They're just thick. And he's like, those are the motorcycle legs. He tell me I got motorcycle legs, girl. I guess that's them legs that have to be thick to hold up the motorcycle. So let me know if you've ever seen someone that you would consider big bone. They're not necessarily fat. They're just big bone. They could have fat attached, but they're still big bone. And Sierra comes across as that type of person. Though she's small, she has a large stature. And if she ever gained weight, she would probably be shaped pretty much like how I'm shaped. Um, so that first. So I don't know how we got on the subject of big bone. And I said, yeah, I'm big bone. And he wanted to make a joke because narcissistic people always like to joke. I always thought it was playful, it was fun with my family to like do the dozens. Like, you know how you'd be like, yo, mama this, or yo, who you think this? Like, he would always say, like, I just mentioned that my mother had a large statue. He would always say that we're built up like refrigerators. Y'all are built, y'all got that refrigerator look. And I never took offense to it because I know I'm a big strong woman. And I would just laugh. I'd be like, yeah, well, okay, y'all made like we would talk about them. They have the big upper body and have little small legs like Gru. And I remember one of my aunt, that happens in narcissistic toxic families too. I didn't realize that was toxic when you go back and forth, cracking little jokes on each other. But my aunt, another aunt, was like, what do you do? What is this apple? And then poke two toothpicks in the bottom. And everybody was like, I don't know. And she said, it's your auntie blank blank blank, which is the narcissistic aunt. And I'm like, wow, okay, she is shaped like that with the little legs and the big body. So though we're both not faultless and not perfect in appearance, because you're making fun of me and I'm taking it lightly, then I'm making fun of you back. Like, I mean, that's how the dozens go, right? Don't I crack on you, you crack on me, and it'll be all in fun and games, and we'll be laughing and stuff. So I said, I'm big bone. And he was like, yeah, y'all love to say y'all big bone. Ain't no such thing as big bone. And I said, well, I mean, you can feel how you want, but I'm big bone. I know that I'm big bone. I was not fat my whole life. I was actually skinny majority of my life until I turned around 30 is when I really started putting on my weight. And I'm not even that big like that. I mean, I'm not the smallest of my ideal weight, but I'm not that huge. So I was like, I know that I'm big bone. And he was like, no, you're not big bone. So it starts out as a joke. And I was like, yeah, but I know I'm big bone. And he said, oh, I know where the joke started. Because he was saying that I try to blame my weight on my baby weight. Y'all try to blame y'all weight on y'all baby weight. And y'all baby's 18 and 19 years old. And I was like, I didn't blame that on my baby weight. Like, I done lost that weight from after I put on, after my daughter was born. And I had lost weight again to do my rapid career. And then I was working overnight and I became severely depressed working overnight. Like, probably should have been clinically depressed, like if I had went to a doctor for it. But you know, we go to the doctor and they tell us, oh, are you suffering from this, this, and this? And we just say no when we actually do suffer from this, this, and this. And also, I was going through the storm, the thickest part of my husband being snatched from my family and me having to work 2 and 3 jobs and go to school and do this and do that and worry about my child crying in school and I just want my daddy and so much going on. I'm trying to deal with that, and at that time legally blind and did not have that contact. In the last video you see that contact started giving me trouble. I did not have that contact for some years, so I was blind, but now I see. Like, I know what it is to be blind, like literally, and barely could see a thing and have to, oh my God, I got to tell stories about that. Like, if my daughter got 2 feet from in front of me in the store, I would be freaking out crying because every little girl looks like her and I can't find my daughter. And she'll pop out, Mom, right here, and stuff like that. Like, that was crazy. So I once was blind, but now I see, girl. So I wasn't always big my whole life. So I know that and even when I was my smallest, 150 pounds when I met Marcello Jackson. And if I show you some of these pictures when I met Marcello Jackson, you would see that I look small, I look skinny, but I was 150 pounds. 150 pounds would weigh different, look different on other people, but I am big boned. So he's like, Yeah, y'all like to blame it on the babies y'all had about 19, 20 years ago, and ain't no such thing as big bone. That just mean you need to work out and this and that. So it was supposed to be a joke, which I laughed to it. I laughed at his joke, but I said I am big bone though. I know I'm big bone, and he was like, "No, you're not." And I'm like, "I am big bone." And he's like, "Ain't no doctor told you that." So you see where it's coming is it started off as playing, but now he's getting serious because I'm standing my ground. I'm big bone. I'm big bone. Even if I wasn't big bone, what does it matter to you? If I feel like I'm big bone, I'm big bone. Why are you getting mad? So he's like, "You're not big bone. Ain't no doctor told you that. Doctor such and such didn't tell you that." And I'm like, a doctor don't have to tell me that. Even when our babies, they do that with our babies. Black babies tend to be big, healthy babies, like for real. And they'll tell us that our babies are too big. They'll tell us that they're overweight for their basically for their age group. And it's not actually that. It's just that you're not accounting that a lot of our babies are just bigger, right? We're shaped different, we're different. So if you're structuring those charts off of people that are not like us, or if you're not getting like actual data of different ethnicities together and then picking the average size, you're picking one prototype for the majority and then saying this is the average size. So of course you're going to come out with different incorrect averages, right? So he's like, ain't nobody told you you was big bone. And I was like, they don't have to tell me. I can tell that I'm big bone. I know that I'm big bone. Look at my wrists. My wrists are huge. And my wrists have always been huge. My hands have always been huge. My feet, I even wear like 11, even when I was the skinniest. And I'm not that tall. I'm 5'5". I have a big, fat, wide foot, like for real, broad foot, like my father, who's a construction worker. I got his construction worker feet. Girl, I'm big bone. And he's like, "No, you're not." And I'm like, "Yes, I am." So I'm up here Googling and I'm like, okay, I already pleaded my case. I'm like, okay, so you mean to tell me Shaquille O'Neal, who is over 200 some pounds, tall as I don't know what, his feet are huge, his legs are broad, though he's not fat. You mean to tell me if you peeled off all that muscle and skin and exposed his skeletal structure, his bone would not be bigger than a regular person's bone? You cannot tell me because it makes too much darn sense. I already have logic in my mind. Though you're telling me something scientifically that you say is true does not mean I'm going to believe it, because I'm going to run it through. I'm going to critically think, even though I can't say it. I'm going to think about it. Does it make sense what they're saying to me? And I computed that there being no such thing as big bone makes no sense, because there are people with smaller and larger skeletal structures in their big bone. So I go to Googling and I pull up, is there such thing as big bone? So of course there are some saying no. Then there are some saying yes, there is a such thing as big bone. Many ways that your skeletal structure is measured is exactly what I had already intuitively said, by your wrists, because it doesn't tend to be a lot of body fat on the wrist, right? And by your ankles. Those are usually the skinniest, most accurate parts to measure a person's body build. And also, I had this mental thing. I'm like, hold on now. My daughter has a small body build. She has these little tiny wrists. Her wrists are probably half of my wrist. Cut that in half. That's probably her wrist. She's very small. I said, and look at me with the thick wrist. So if someone just found our bones somewhere, how do you, the bones are not going to all be shaped the same width. You're going to have a larger skeletal. Even my face, you see how wide set my face is? My face is wide set, broad. My shoulders are broad. My hands are big. My feet are big. My calves are thick. And I'm only 5'5". I'm big bone, big statue. Yes, I got fat on me, but I'm still big bone. So I was like, every skeleton that they find is not the same size, because he kept saying that all skeletons be about the same size. They just get taller and shorter, but they be about the same width. And I'm like, no, that don't sound right, because someone as tall as Shaq is gonna need thicker bones. Can you imagine someone being as tall as Shaq having these little tiny bones? How will the structure stand so tall? I even thought about with a building. The taller the building gets, the wider they need the foundation to be, because otherwise it could not hold up that structure. So I'm doing all this critical thinking, and he's hollering about there's no such thing as big bone. You just want to. So now it's going from funny to now it's an argument. And I'm like, usually at that point I let it go. I already see that it's escalating. I see it's going from funny, witty, to, oh, this is about to be an argument. So for me, usually I digress. I fall back. All right, you right. And ironically, he hates when I say that. All right, you right. Okay. All right. I'm not big bone. He hates when I do that. But you want to be right. That's me falling back. Like, I don't get it. Like, you literally, it's like you need me to argue with you. And I don't want to argue with you. I don't argue like that. And usually I'm passive. I would have let that go. But there's sometimes I'll be like, no, I know I'm right. I'm not backing down. I'm big bone. How you gonna tell me? If I could see if I was telling him he was big bone. I'm telling you that I am big bone. I'm talking about me, who I know me. I know my body, that I look in the mirror every single day at. I know I'm big bone. And you're telling me I'm not. You can't tell me more about me than I can tell me about me. So I was like, no. I mean, there's a such thing as big bone. See, look here. I Googled. All I did was simply Google. And I brought up things that were saying, yes, there is a such thing as big bone and this and that. And opposed to, there are some doctors that argue that there isn't, but there's this research showing that there are people that are big bone and stuff like that. Like, even with your charts and stuff, they'll tell you that they tell me I'm morbidly obese. And I'm like, I know I'm obese, but morbidly obese? Like, are you kidding me? Like, and then, so what are these people that are way bigger than me if I'm morbidly obese? You know what I'm saying? And so I'm just Googling, showing him the facts that I found, and that's it. And it's like, with a healthy person, you can just agree to disagree, like, literally. But he was getting mad. So all of a sudden, as I'm showing the Google, he's like, there's no such thing as big bone. I promise you, it was like we were sitting at the table and he's banging on the table with both of his. There's no such thing as big bone. There's no such thing as big bone. And when I repeat that like that, that reminds me of what's that thing from Wizard of Oz, where she was clicking her heels together saying, there's no place like home. There's no place like home. That is literally what I hear. There's no such thing as big bone. There's no such thing as big bone. And I'm like, okay, but I'm still big bone. So he gets so angry that he like leaves the table. He's telling his friend, just take me to the bathroom. Take me to the bathroom, because remember, he's blind. And he was so mad, and then he ended up just leaving. He went outside. She had to take him to the bathroom, and then she took him outside, and we had to go because he was hard down mad. And I'm like, but I'm big bone. Like, what is he mad about? So then he comes back out, and he sits there and he's upset, and then he's like, see, you just wouldn't let it go. You just wouldn't let it go. You just study Googling. You just study trying to prove it. You just keep it going. You the one keep it going. You wouldn't just let it go. And I'm like, I wouldn't let it go. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you mad because I said I'm big bone. And this is another place where this is another instance where the whole family is just sitting there and they know they want to say something. They can observe. You can observe in this who is right and who is wrong. Or if there's shared fault, who has the 20% of fault and who has the 80% of fault. Or who escalated this to a fight when it was just of having fun, dirty dozens, right? They've seen it. But this is where knowing this knowledge, it comes in that you realize that they were just being flying monkeys. They are never going to say, no, you're wrong. You were wrong. That you should have just let her have her own opinion. She's saying what it is about her. Like, you took that too far. Like, they would never call it. They would all just sit back. Be quiet. You'll be sitting right there. Didn't that just happen? I mean, didn't I just say? And I promise you, nobody, you could hear crickets. Nobody would come to stand up to bat for you. Nobody. But when y'all part ways and he get in his vehicle and leave, because that's what he did, we all got the check and we just left. It ruined dinner because I'm not big bone, which I am big bone. Girl, I'm big bone. I'm gonna even do some research about there. Is it a such thing as big bone just because of this? Like, literally. And later in the car, they're like, yeah, he started it again. He did. And I'm like, well, what? Why you couldn't say that when we were sitting there? You literally wouldn't say nothing. You had me out there feeling crazy, looking crazy, can't get no witness, because I'm actually trying to, as an empath, you try to check yourself. If I am actually wrong, I want to know that I'm wrong so that I can go work on me. So I'm like, I literally did I do that? Did I escalate the fight? Like, you're asking and nobody won't say nothing. They just all just sit back. And then later, when the person's not in the vicinity, they'll say, wow. They'll say everything you needed them to say then. They'll say it then once the person's not present. So that was just my story time. Like, I literally, and these are stories that literally after it happens, they stop talking to you for a while, and then later they come back and they say, yeah, you just don't know how to, it's your fault why y'all stop talking. You stop talking to them because you're like, this is childish. Like, literally, I'm too old to be involved in situations like this, so it's better for me to just delete myself from it. So they'll just play it off as you're being childish because you don't know how to get over situations. And you're not really just not. It's like there's this girl, Set Apart to Serve. I love her. I just found her channel maybe 3 weeks ago. And she's saying it's a difference between gray rocking, because that's basically what you start doing, because you're like, I see that this does not work. So you kind of gray rock the situation as opposed to being childish. It's not the same. It's completely different. All right, guys. And that brings me back to the video I was going to review. I couldn't remember what video I need to review because it's been 2 days since I've been able to record. And it was a video where another thing that bothered me in my whole upbringing was the difference between, I found this video, Stephanie P. Smith. the difference between being an actual victim and playing victim, because that actually put me through so much in my life where people always, oh, you just playing a victim, oh, you just playing a victim, oh, you just playing a victim. And you're like, but this stuff is happening to me, like I don't. But I'll do that one next. All right, I gotta run. I gotta run off to work. I will see you guys later. Thank you for listening to my rant. Girl, and I'm big bone.